In middle school, when my classmates were busy bettering both themselves and their general chances of success in the future, I was busy doing something equally, if not more important than that. I was busy being obsessed with the Shadowhunter Chronicles. It is crucial, even vital, for you to understand that I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying that I was obsessed. I'm just saying that I took those books everywhere with me and I placed them under the desk in class and I read them. I read every single one of them. And as of yesterday, I think I can say with some degree of confidence that I am all caught up with this franchise. I read Chain of Thorns, and I think that's every book that this franchise has to offer so far. If there is any book whose existence I am unaware of, please keep that information to yourself. For the purposes of this video, I am all caught up with this franchise. So now I will be ranking the books in tiers. I will put them into like the boxes that you see. Can you tell I put close to no effort into scripting this video? Can you tell that the only reason I'm making this is to procrastinate doing actual work? Can you tell that I get camera shy and that the sight of my reflection in this phone screen makes all the words that I want to say drop out of my head? Can you tell that I am doing this not for my own pleasure but to help you feel better about yourself? As you can see here, I have 5 tiers. At the very top, we have Shakespeare is quaking, which means that Shakespeare is currently trembling in his grave because he wishes he could have written this, but he didn't. And then we have I am not immune to propaganda, which means that this book succeeds at doing what it's supposed to do. It's a nice, entertaining YA read, and I liked reading it. And then we have So This Exists, which means that that's the best thing that I can say about this book, that it exists. I didn't want to kill myself while reading it, but I didn't really love it either. Then we have The Entire Circus, which means that this book is not just a clown, it is in fact the entire circus. And finally, we have Baffled, Bewildered, and Bamboozled, which means that I am frankly baffled, bewildered, and bamboozled at how this book, a book about vampires, werewolves, warlocks, fae, and literal angel people with train wreck love lives, managed to be boring of all things. I was going to do this in chronological order of like the time periods each of these series is set in, but then I realized that I didn't know what to do with books like the Bane Chronicles or Ghosts of the Shadow Market. So I decided to be boring and just do this in the order the series came out in. And I'm pretty sure it's still not in order. I'm pretty sure I still messed up the placing of these individual books, but I no longer care. The Mortal Instruments, the series that started it all. I read City of Bones in 7th standard or something, and it rewired my brain chemistry. Not because of the incest, but because at this point, I thought of myself as like a cool intellectual kid who read things like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. That's a lie. I never actually finished reading Huckleberry Finn, but I tried, and it's the thought that counts. I read Harry Potter, okay, and in this era, in this age range, Harry Potter was what all the cool intellectual kids were reading. The point is that I was too cool for sexy vampires and werewolves and whatnot. Until I read this book, I realized that I was just like the other girls and I was not, in fact, immune to propaganda. So much about this book is just iconic. The club, the tarot cards, the everybody's like cool intros, Simon's whole rat phase, Valentine showing up and proclaiming Jason Clary to be brother and sister. And then the City of Ashes. It exists. Imogen Herondale's in it. That's all I really remember. And then the City of Glass, which I adored. It's a great conclusion to the whole Valentine trilogy. Valentine. I don't know and I don't care. It's exciting and decently paced. And then we have Fallen Angels. Listen, I liked Lilith as a villain, and I liked where they took the whole Mark of Cain thing, but none of that excuses the sheer amount of Jace, Clary, Sebastian / Jonathan angst that I had to wade through. Then we have Lost Souls, which exists. Malik breaks up in it. Alec vaguely schemes with Camille, and then Magnus and Alec break up. And I'm sorry that that's the only thing I remember. But I was deeply invested in Malik. I was an angsty child who really liked angsty Alec Lightwood, and between the not really incest couple and whatever the hell Simon and Isabel had going on, Malik was all I had. Finally, we have Heavenly Fire. I have vaguely the same thoughts about this that I have about City of Glass. It's a decent conclusion that I had fun reading. I liked reading about the gang in hell, and it was like a promising introduction of the Blackthorns and all their future shenanigans. Then we have everyone's favorite, The Infernal Devices. I think all three of these books are going to go into like I'm not immune to propaganda because I had fun reading this series. I love steampunk, I love Tessa and Jem and Will, and it is absolutely hilarious to me how Cassandra Clare decided that the best way to resolve her little love triangle was to make Tessa get with one and then get with the other immortal one after the first one was dead. I was always a Jessa shipper. I know all of you like brooding old Will Herondale, but I was oversaturated at that point. Okay, I had just gone through like 6 books of Jace Herondale, of Jace Herondale being all broody and angsty, and I was tired. James Carstairs, you will always be my favorite Carstairs. Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy exists. I don't really remember anything from this. I think at this point, this video is more a testament to my poor memory than the actual quality of these books, but I digress. I like Simon and Isabel a lot more in this, but I think at the end of the day, this wasn't the most compelling short story collection for me. The Bane Chronicles. Magnus Bane, you messy bitch. For me, The Bane Chronicles is to the Shadowhunters franchise what Thor Ragnarok is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is the one that scratches some kind of itch in my brain. It is the one that I talk about. It is the one that I reblog goofy little Tumblr posts about. It is the one that I occasionally, in sleep deprived phases, make little edits for. What really happened in Peru is unironically one of my favorite short stories ever. I'm sorry, James Joyce, but I don't want to read about your thoughts on Irish society and marriage and dead people. I want to read about 2 warlocks falling into bird poop. Then we have The Dark Artifices, a series that I think really embodies the problem that I have with the later books in this franchise. Such good setups with such poor payoff, basically. I loved Lady Midnight when it first came out. I was very invested in all the characters and their silly, angsty lives. I was very invested in that one Edgar Allan Poe poem. But then I started to get bored. Lord of Shadows, you exist. Queen of Air and Darkness, you are the entire circus. You are a parody of yourself. You spent too much time setting up the wicked past. You turned Emma and Jules into rampaging giants, and worst of all, you are too fucking luck. Ghost of the Shadow Market is somewhat redeeming because it is about my favorite Carstairs and my favorite silent brother. I like the format of it all being set in the Shadow Market. I like the plot device of the Shadow Market in general, just because I think markets are a really cool setting. A lot of fair few of the stories held promise as well. Held promise, look at me sounding like some kind of posh critic. I have 2 brain cells and they are both here for the vibes and the giggles. Oh, then we have the Malik series. The Red Schools of Magic was fun and I liked it. How like Magnus to get drunk and start a cult. It's kind of a one-time read, not gonna lie, but it was fun nonetheless. Last book of the Wilds. Magnus Bane, you occupy both ends of the spectrum. The only thing that I remember from this book is this one joke that Shinyun makes at the beginning, where she's like, "Oh, I no longer serve a greater demon. I now serve the greatest demon." And Magnus is like, "Capitalism? You have started a small business and you need investors?" I chuckled. It got a chuckle out of me. It was funny. Finally, we have The Last Hours. Good setup, bad payoff. Also, just hilarious how this franchise gets progressively gayer and gayer. I want to study the entire character of James Herondale like a bug because it's so dissonant from from what he was like in the Bane Chronicles. feel like Cassandra Clare just forgot that the Midnight Air was a thing that she wrote. But honestly, I feel like she does that a fair bit, and not just in the books themselves. So I followed her on Tumblr for a while, and she'd like release these snippets and stuff, and you can physically see just like how much a starting idea morphs by the time it like eventually comes out. Don't quote me on this though, because I'm not jobless enough to sit and compile a list of every single instance in which this has happened. But I'm just vaguely certain that this has happened a lot, but take it with a pinch of salt. Anyway, Chain of Gold existed, it wasn't terrible. Chain of Iron and Chain of Thorns, I had to make a valiant effort to finish both, especially the latter. I don't know why, maybe I'm just like really outgrowing things at this point. But Chain of Thorns in specific felt like if you fed a Cassandra Clare book into ChatGPT and then you asked ChatGPT to write a Cassandra Clare book, and ChatGPT did it, but reluctantly. Like it dragged its feet a lot first, it grumbled a lot first, and then very reluctantly wrote a Cassandra Clare book. I will say though, I did appreciate how Cordelia ended the love triangle by just straight up breaking things off with Matthew. I feel like, unless you're going the whole polyamory route, there's only so much weird plot gymnastics you can do. And I think the whole, wait till the mortal one is dead and then marry the one who has conveniently now become immortal was the peak of that. Right, okay, there you have it. That's my ranking. If you want like a cool outro or some kind of profound conclusion, you come to the wrong place because I learned nothing from anything. Goodbye.